Peace, 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 everyone. So that was cute, Facebook. So I was having a back and forth conversation with a brother by the name of Yaqub El Hamid Gamble Bay on Facebook, and he made comments on my post, and I was commenting back. And at first, Facebook was like, "This is against community standards," and I'm like, how is it against community standards? The only thing that I commented was "No, sir," with the exclamation mark, and then I quoted a verse out of the Holy Quran of the Moorish Temple of America, and then Facebook just clipped the entire post. So I'm telling y'all to let y'all know that if you don't think that the system is always watching what you do, listening to what you are saying, and making sure that certain information does not get out, then I'm definitely a witness to show and prove that they're watching, they're listening, and you really want to have all of your ducks in a row. Unless you work for the people and they pretty much just let you say and do whatever you want to do on social media. So let's get into it. Let's invite some of you all in here. As y'all come in, you can ask questions, you can comment. Shout out to all the moderators. Yeah, that was crazy. They just clipped me. So, the brother, let me see the brother's name again. The brother, and this is not really towards him at all. I just really want to clear up. I really want to clear this up. But his name, where is it? I can't even find his name anymore. That's even weirder. But yeah, y'all, let's get into it. Y'all remember to share, like, and subscribe. I forget to say that when we're on. Share, like, and subscribe. So here we are. Gonna get into it. First and foremost, I'm not an expert, but what I can say is that I have, uh, for the past 13 years, almost 13 years, I have studied what many of us know as the religious affidavit for Moorish Temple of America, document number 10105905. Sometimes we affectionately call it our authority. But I have studied that document day in and day out since 2010. Since 2010. So there's certain things that I know about that document. I'm very clear of about that document. And a lot of times we like to add our wisdom, knowledge, and understanding to that specific document. When we do it, we want to do it within the actual context of the letter and not just cap because it sounds good. It rolls on the tongue. It's good to the palate. Um, it just sounds real dope. We don't ever want to do that. So I've been teaching that document for since 2014. I've been teaching that document, and let's share it. Share the document number 10105905. Like I said, is what many of us call it. All right, so this is our authority, or document number 10105905, or the religious affidavit for Moorish Science Temple of America. And let me go down to it because this is several pages. This is the actual Hertz Revised Statutes, Chapter 32, Section 36, 34, Section 36. Um, is where the template comes from for that actual document. So here we are. First things first, It never said that we get our power and authority from the great Quran of Mecca. It does not say that. It specifically says the Moorish Science Temple of America, deriving its power and authority from the great Quran of Muhammad. From the great Quran of Muhammad, to propagate the faith and extend the learning and truth of the great prophet of Ali in America. Does not say anything about a Quran of Mecca. Second of all, Quran is spelled differently. So most of us know Quran to be spelled with the Q. This Quran is spelled with the K because this is America. Say it again. This is America. Prophet Noble Drew Ali is an American prophet. We have had many American prophets. Another prophet that we had in America, who was known as the prophet, was Teskawada. His brother was Tecumseh. Right? So we've had American prophets here in America for a very, very long time. This is nothing new. All right? Now, to get into the question about whether if Prophet Noble Drew Ali did a name change or a name correction. He did a name change or a name correction. So the brother showed this to be an example of where he's verifying that Prophet Noble Drew Ali did a name change and not a name correction. Before we get to that, let's go to change, the word change, the etymology of the word change, right? Change is 1200, to alter, make different. To alter, make different. Change, transitive. Early 13th century, as to substitute one for another. Mid 13th century, as to make something other than what it was. Cause to turn or pass from one state to another. From the late 13th century, as to become different, be altered. Intransitive from Old French changer, to change, alter, exchange, switch. From late Latin cambiare, to barter, exchange. Extended form of Latin cambiare, to exchange, barter. This is held to be of Celtic origin. From pi root, kim, to ben, crook. with the sense evolution perhaps from to turn, to change, to barter. So this literally means to alter, to make different, to substitute one from another. That's what change is. All right? Shout out to everybody in the chat. We're gonna get to that, brother. Brother Sharif Bey said, "Where is America in ancient Morocco?" That sounds like that's okay. Correct. Let's get to correct. Correct. It's mid 14th century to set someone right by punishing for a fault or error to discipline. 14th to bring in accordance. To bring into accordance with a standard or original. From Latin correctus, past participle. To put straight, attempt to make a crooked thing straight, reduce to order, set right. Is transferred use to reform, amend, especially of speech or writing, for assimilated form. And that's exactly what Prophet Noble Drew Ali did. He did a name correction, not a name change. He did not change or alter. He did not replace one for another. He amended the error, corrected the error. Now, the brother said that this is his verification that Prophet Noble Drew Ali did a name change. And this is the issue. The main issue is context. So we all know that Prophet Noble Drew Ali, his physical form, was no longer here on the earth since 1929. This bill, HR 0689, which is a House resolution bill for the Illinois General Assembly, was presented years ago. Matter of fact, let's look at the bill status. So, over 10 years now. Over 10 years now. So, 1/6/2012, it was filed with the clerk by Representative Mary E. Flowers. On 1/31/2012, it was referred to the Rules Committee. On 2/6/2012, assigned to State Government Administration Committee. On 7/27/2012, Rule 19B re-referred to Rules Committee. Since 1/8/2013, it has been in Sendai. What does that mean? It just means that it's waiting for it to be adjourned. There's been no other movement on it. The bill has not gone to both sides to be voted on, and the governor has not signed it into law. It's still just a bill. This is not even public law. All right? Now, this was a great idea. I'm not knocking anybody for their efforts. But we have to be truthful and honest in what it is that we present, right? And I'm just clearing up some things. That's all. We're just clearing up some things. It reads, whereas the Moorish Americans are descendants of the ancient Moabites, Hamitites, and Canaanites who were permitted by the old pharaohs of Kemet to traverse from East Africa and later form themselves kingdoms extending from northwest and southwestern shores of Africa, the Atlantic islands, and into the present-day continental Americas. Now, first and foremost, when you read this, you'll begin to realize that, there's some issues with this. There's quite few issues just with this first paragraph. What are the issues? Well, number one is it says that the Moorish Americans are the descendants of the ancient Moabites, Hamitites, and Canaanites who were permitted by the old pharaohs of Kemet. When did the ancient Moabites, Hamitites, and Canaanites get permission by the old pharaohs of Kemet? That's the first problem. When did this occur? Because this is not even referenced within the actual true letter of where this individual got this information from within the Holy Quran of the Moorish Temple of America. That's not what it says. It does not say this at all. Then it further says to traverse from East Africa and later form themselves kingdoms extending from the northwestern and southwestern shores of Africa. This is confusing and misinformation. This is a confusing and misinformation. I'm not going to say it's a lie. I'm not going to do that. The reason why I'm not going to do that is because I really want to believe that whoever did this within their scope of knowledge, wisdom, and understanding, and their thoughts was to just try to get something within legislation on the behalf of the Moorish Americans. So I'm not going to, whoever did this, I'm not going to do that to them. That is not what I'm doing this for. What I'm doing this for is to clear up. We got to clear up. We got to clear these things up. So it goes on and it starts saying that we got permission to set up kingdoms on the Atlantic islands and onto the present day continental Americas. But that's the problem, because if we're the ancient Moabites, Hamitites, and Canaanites, then we will be the ancient pharaohs. And the ancient pharaohs will be given permission. And the text actually says it gave permission to Joshua to go and set up set up in the land of Canaan, not to go and set up on the shores of the Atlantic islands, present day continental Americas, on the northwestern, southwestern shores of Africa. That's not, no, that's not what it says. It says that the pharaohs gave permission for Joshua to go to Canaan. Now, last Sunday in Sunday school, I actually taught on that in the book of Genesis. I think it was verse 40. Let's go down. So it was Genesis chapter 45. I'm going to share that. Genesis chapter 45. It's the King James Version. I want to go down to no, let's go. We got to go further. So it's going to be 40. Let's see. 46. Let's do 46. Start at chapter 46. And it's going to be verse 26. 46, 26. It says, these are the sons of Belial, which Laban gave into, no, that's 25. All the souls that came with Jacob into Egypt, which came out of his loins, besides Jacob's sons' wives, all of the souls were 66. And the sons of Joseph, which were born him in Egypt, were 2 souls. All the souls of the house of Jacob, which came into Egypt, were 70. 28. And he sent Judah before him and to Joseph to direct his face unto Goshen. And they came into the land of Goshen. Now, where is the land of Goshen? Where is the land of Goshen? Well, I see Goshen in Illinois, which is also rumored to be a part of what they call Little Egypt, right? Little Egypt. So this would really make sense if, Joseph is setting up his family in Egypt, his father and his brothers and all his nieces, nephews, cousins, so on and so forth, right here in Egypt. And he sent Judah before him and to Joseph to direct his face and to Goshen, and they came to the land of where? Goshen. And Joseph made ready his chariot and went up to meet Israel his father to Goshen, and presented himself unto him, and he fell on his neck and wept on his neck a good while. Right? Yeah, so like a lot of us, we understand and we know that America is the true old world. So when they're talking about, the Hamathites, the Moabites, the Canaanites, right? Talking about the ancient worlds and so on and so forth. You're talking about the first land out of the water It is America. America is the true old world. There's many sources that we've gone over time and time again that proves this. Matter of fact, brother Imhotep El Bay wrote a book called America is the Old World, the True Old World. Check it out. You can get it on Amazon. You can order it on Amazon. Support the brother. There's other many books that I've taught from that displays that America is the true old world. America is the first land out of the water after the great deluge. So when they're talking about Egypt and they're talking about Canaan, they're talking about the old world, they're talking about America, the first, the number one, numero uno. All right? Let's see. It further says, and Israel said unto Joseph, now let me die, since I have seen thy face, because thou art yet alive. And Joseph said unto his brother and to his father's house, I will go up and show Pharaoh, and say unto him, my brethren and my father's house, which were in the land of Canaan, which were in the land of Canaan. See, they didn't come out of our East Africa and went into the land of Canaan. No. So if the story that we've all been told, which is that, Egypt is in Africa, if you look at the map today, this story is being told in reverse. But most of the world history is being told in reverse. Yeah, see, this right here says that they left out of Canaan and went into Africa. Not they left out of Africa and went into northwestern, southwestern Africa, or they received permission from Pharaoh. See, this is before receiving any permission from Pharaoh. This is before Joshua. All right? We got to stay within the context, or we'll always get thrown off. So it says, and Joseph said unto his brother and to his father's house, I will go up and show Pharaoh, and say unto him, my brother and my father's house, which were in the land of Canaan, are come unto me. And the men are shepherds, for their trade have been to feed cattle. And they have brought their flocks and their herds and all they have. And it shall come to pass when Pharaoh shall call you and shall say, what is your occupation? All right. See, now they get into the labor force. Now they get into the workforce. What is your occupation? Pharaoh ain't asking them their names, their phone numbers, their addresses, their email addresses. No, Pharaoh is asking them off the gate, what is your occupation? What type of work do you do? What type of skills do you have? Because see, here in Egypt, everybody works. So we need to know what type of skill set you have so that we can employ you in the labor force, the workforce. Same thing we do today. It's nothing new under the sun. That ye shall thy servants trade have been about cattle from our youth until now, both we and also our fathers, that ye may dwell in the land of Goshen. Ooh. Yeah. For every shepherd is an abomination unto the Egyptians. The Egyptians don't even do shepherds. That's an abomination to the Egyptians. The Egyptians like, nah, we don't do that over here, fam. It says, then Joseph came and told Pharaoh and said, my father and my brethren and their flocks and their herds and all that they have are come out of the land of Canaan. And behold, they are in the land of Goshen. So they left Canaan and went into Goshen. And Pharaoh said unto his brethren, what is your occupation? And they said unto Pharaoh, thy servants are shepherds, both we and also our fathers. They said moreover unto Pharaoh, for to sojourn in the land are we come, for thy servants have no pasture for their flocks, for the famine is sore in the land of Canaan. Now therefore we pray thee, let thy servants dwell in the land of Goshen. See, Pharaoh, we them shepherd boys. And we know you don't do the shepherds. But, we our shepherds, we can't feed them. We're hungry because there's a famine in Canaan. As I always say, every time something happened to the Jacobites, they always ran back to Egypt. Always ran back to Egypt for help. Always. Never failed. And Pharaoh spake unto Joseph, saying, thy father and thy brother are come unto thee. The land of Egypt is for thee, and in the best of the land make thy father and brother to dwell in the land of Goshen. Let them dwell, and if thou knowest any man of activity among them, then make them rulers over my cattle. Yeah, make them rulers over my cattle. That's what they can do. And Joseph brought in Jacob his father and set him before Pharaoh, and Jacob blessed Pharaoh. See, Jacob gave Pharaoh tribute. He gave him some coin. Gave him the best of the best. Gave him some of them shepherds. And Pharaoh said unto Jacob, how old art thou? And Jacob said unto Pharaoh, the days of the years of my pilgrimage are 130 years. Few and evil have the days of the years of my life been, and have not attained to the days of the years of the life of my fathers and the days of their pilgrimage. And Jacob blessed Pharaoh and went out from before Pharaoh. And Joseph placed his father and his brother and gave them a possession in the land of Egypt, in the best of the land, in the land of Ramesses, as Pharaoh had commanded. This is a royal decree, a royal declaration. In the land of Ramses. This is where the Jacobites are now. And Joseph nourished his father and his brethren and all his father's household with bread according to their families. And there was no bread in the land, for the famine was very sore, so that the land of Egypt and all the land of Canaan fainted by reason of the famine. And Joseph gathered up all the money that was found in the land of Egypt, in the land of Canaan. So he got all the money, not only in Egypt, but also all the money in the land of Canaan, for the corn which they bought. And Joseph brought the money into the Pharaoh's house. Now, if this story is in Africa, how did they get corn? Let's make it make sense. Because we know that is a rich, America still is the number one producer and exporter of corn to this day. So how I'm gonna keep reading because it just, when the math ain't mathing, you just gotta keep going. So he said, in the land of Canaan for the corn which they bought, and Joseph brought the money into Pharaoh's house. And when money fell in the land of Egypt, in the land of Canaan, when they didn't have any money in Egypt and in Canaan. See, at this time, because Joseph became the ruler over Canaan. So because Joseph was already over the agriculture in Egypt, it brought Egypt and Canaan together as one. This is why the reason why Joseph was over both Egypt and Canaan's agricultural and its resources, natural resources. So it said, and when money fell in the land of Egypt and in the land of Canaan, all the Egyptians came into Joseph and said, "Give us bread, for why should we die in thy presence? For the money felleth. There is no money. The Pharaoh got all the money. We don't have any money to barter, trade, to purchase anything with. Why should you let us die? Can you give us some bread, Joseph?" And Joseph said, "Give your cattle, and I will give you for your cattle if money fell." If money fell. If money fell, give me your cattle. Give me your cattle. That's what we're going to trade. We're going to trade your cattle now for bread, for seeds to grow. And they brought their cattle unto Joseph, and Joseph gave them bread in exchange for horses, and for the flocks, and for the cattle of herds, and for the asses. And he fed them with bread for all their cattle for that year. And when that year was ended, they came unto him the second year and said unto him, "We will not hide it from my Lord, how that our money is spent, my Lord. Also have our herds of cattle, there is not aught left in the sight of my Lord, but our bodies and our lands." So now they saying, Joseph, look, we ain't got no money, we ain't got no bread, we ain't got no cattle, no sheep, no herds, no asses. We just out here with nothing. We hungry. Only thing we have left is our bodies and our lands. Wherefore shall we die before thy eyes, both we and our land? Buy us and our land for bread. And that's what prostitution to do. Buy me so I can eat. I'm hungry out here in these streets. Jacobites are now prostituting themselves. Buy us and our land so we can eat, Joseph, please. Tell Pharaoh he can have the lands. Tell Pharaoh he can have our bodies. We will work day up, sun up, the sun down. No vacation time. Sometimes on Sundays so we can go to church. No sick leave. No family medical leave. No pension. No 401k, no IRA, no, we not doing that. What we doing is this right here. Joseph, what you gonna do is you gonna tell Pharaoh that we gonna become servants of his if he just give us some bread so we can eat. We gotta eat, Joseph. We hungry. And we gonna give him our land. Yeah, we don't care about no land. We just trying to eat. He said, and Joseph bought all the land of Egypt for Pharaoh. And Joseph bought all the land of Egypt for Pharaoh. I skipped a verse. It said, "Wherefore shall we die before thy eyes, both we and our land? Buy us and our land for bread, and we in our land will be servants unto Pharaoh, and give us seed, that we may live and not die, that the land be not desolate. And Joseph bought all the land of Egypt for Pharaoh. For the Egyptians sold every man his fill, because the famine prevailed over them, so the land became Pharaoh's. The land became Pharaoh's. And as for the people, he removed them to cities. So now y'all don't get to live. No, y'all in the city now. It's the Great Migration. Dang, this story sounds so familiar. Y'all leaving from down south and you moving up north to the city so you can work in the factories. So y'all don't get to live on the lands anymore where you get to be yourself and live the life comfortable that you was so used to for most of all your life. No, you get removed. You're gonna move to the cities, from one end of the borders of Egypt even to the other end thereof. Only the land of the priests bought he not, for the priests had a portion assigned them of Pharaoh, and did eat their portion which Pharaoh gave them. Wherefore they sold not their land. So that is the only land. This is the reason why I read this, because it is the priest's land that is the only land that Joshua, Caleb, and all the Jacobites was actually supposed to go to when they went back to the land of Canaan. That was the only land that was rightfully still theirs. It was not supposed to leave Egypt and go and tear down the walls of Jericho. Moses wasn't with none of that foolishness. Moses said, no, I'm going up in the mount and I'm not coming back down, because y'all on one and I'm not with none of that. No, we not what? No, I'm not doing that. Joshua and Caleb was so thirsty to take on Jericho, because they knew if they took on Jericho, because the walls were so fortified, no massive armies tried to tear down, could not tear down the wall. Like, it was like the walls of Jericho were like Teflon. You couldn't do anything to it. You can put all the abuse that you wanted to it, and they would just still stand there pristine and strong. There's nothing going on. Just another day in the neighborhood. But here it is. Joshua and Caleb said, no, we're going to go to Jericho. We're going to tear down these walls, and we're going to subdue them. We're going to take everything from them. That's called stealing. And Moses just came down. He came down one time with the laws that said, thou shalt not steal. You just went and stole. You stole. So the only land, again, that the Jacobites was even supposed to have in the land of Canaan was the portion that the priests had, which were the Levites. The portion that the Pharaoh had gave to them. Because lawfully, that is the only portion that they did not sell. They're being greedy and they stole. So let's get back to this House resolution. So here we are, getting back to the House resolution. And it says, and that's why this House resolution doesn't make any sense, because it says the Moabites, Hammatites, Canaanites, who were permitted by the old pharaohs of Kemet to traverse from East Africa and later form themselves kingdoms extended from northwestern and southwestern shores of Africa. the Atlantic Islands, and onto the present-day continental Americas. This is why this document is still in Sendai, because it does not make logical sense. Since 2013, you're talking about 10 years, over 10 years, just been sitting there, not going anywhere. Then it further says, whereas the indigenous Moorish peoples of Americas are now united in order to again link themselves with the family of nations. And whereas the Moorish Americans, being aboriginal to the territories of North, Central, and South Americas. Now, see, this is another problem. So what is aboriginal? What does aboriginal mean? What does aboriginal mean? Aboriginal. 25 entries, 24 entries found. First, earliest existing from the beginning. First, earliest existing from the beginning. The noun meaning an original inhabitant or autochthon. And autochthon means springing from the land. So if you springing from the land, if you the first, the earliest in existing from the beginning, how is it that you came from East Africa? If you're supposed to be aboriginal to North, Central, and South America? Yeah, this it doesn't make sense. No, it don't make sense. Not at all. So if we are one of the aboriginal peoples discovered in the Western Hemisphere by Europeans. Now, if we're one of the aboriginal people, if Americans are one of the original peoples discovered by the Europeans, that means that we was already here, right? We sprang forth from the land, the autochthon. We are the first in existence. We are the first in existence. Wow. Autochthonous, native, aboriginal, indigenous. Yeah, you can't be both. Like, you can't be both original from the Eastern Africa, or what they say from the pharaohs like Kemet, right? From East Africa, and also be the aboriginal to North, South Central, and South Central Americans. Can't do it. Further says, have formed a sovereign theocratic government guided by the command principles of love, true peace, freedom, and justice through virtue of the universal right of self-determination, as well as with the Declaration of Rights of Indigenous Peoples granted in Charter. And whereas on January 8th, 1886, Noble Drew Ali was born in the state of North Carolina, destined to become the first patriot of his mentally enslaved Moorish American people. In 1912, he was anointed. Listen to this. Listen to this. In 1912, he was anointed as El Hajj Sharif Abdul Ali by the leaders of Egypt in the holy city of Mecca to return to the United States as the last prophet and founding father of the newly risen nation of Moorish Americans. Don't none of this make sense. This don't make sense. Not logical sense. When in 1912 did this happen? Did this occur? Produce the source. And not this. You can't use this as the source. Get two more sources to cross-reference this source. We, the people, need two more sources, primary sources, to cross-reference this 1912 anointment of Prophet Noble Jura Ali becoming El Hajj Sharif Abdul Ali. Because I've been looking for it for years and have not found it. No, not, and there is no evidence by the leaders of Egypt in the holy city. I mean, you talking about Egypt here? What leaders from Egypt here gave Noble Jura Ali the anointed El Hajj Sharif Abdul Ali title? In the holy city, in Chicago, the holy city of Mecca? So you want to leave Chicago to return to the United States? Come on, y'all. Wake up. Wake up. Wake up. Wake up, y'all. Cause we've been rocked to sleep. So I'm giving a call. Anybody can provide two primary sources of Prophet Noble Jura Ali receiving this anointment called El Hajj Sharif Abdul Ali in 1912. Primary sources by the leaders of Egypt and the holy city of Mecca. Please provide the sources. I mean, because I've been hearing this for so long, for many, many years, and there's still no sources. Then it further reads, it says, as a result of let's see. Whereas on January 8th, 1886, Noble Jura Ali was born in the state of North Carolina, destined to become the first patriot of his mentally enslaved Moorish American people. In 1912, he was anointed as El Hajj Sharif Abdul Ali by the leaders of Egypt in the holy city of Mecca to return to the United States as the last prophet and founding father of the newly risen nation of Moorish Americans. That's another problem, because we wasn't new. We always been here. Like how can we Like, it's like we're constantly contradicting ourselves, right? We'll say things like, we're the mothers and fathers of civilization. We're those descendants. We'll constantly say things like, we were kings and queens and emperors and empresses and, all of these things. Then we'll say, we were slaves on slave ships and came over here and was bound and tied one to another on top of each other, going through the middle passage. And oh man, that middle passage was so harsh on us. And then at the same time, like, you can't pick a side. Choose. Either you was a slave that came from Africa, or you was already here. You're originally from here. You did not come from another foreign land. You sprang forth from the land. You're indigenous of the land. You're aboriginal of the land. You are the original people of the land. You can't have it both ways. Just does not work like that in real life. We got to choose a side, y'all. Whatever side we choose as a collective, I'm going to rock with it. As long as it's standing in truth. But we got to pick a side. And I employ the teachers and the leaders in the temples to teach a side. When it comes to this, y'all, we got to choose a side now. We at least need to unite on that. So it says, as a result of the 13th Amendment, Moorish people were emancipated from slavery in 1865. Moorish people? Moorish people. That's kind of vague. That is vague. Moorish people were emancipated from slavery in 1865. What's so funny is my research that I found is that many of the Moorish people were actually the slavers, the slave masters. Yeah. Last night, if y'all checked out last night's Holy Night meeting, I went in on Brother Anthony Johnson, who they said was a slave, and he came over here from Europe, not Africa, but he came over here from Europe. See, the problem is really our major problem is the public school education system. Like, I don't even really blame us because it clearly is the public school education system. Even when I was reading on the information about Anthony Johnson, I actually got it from what they teach in Maryland's history to the elementary and middle school children. It's in their curriculum about Anthony Johnson, who was a slave from Africa. Was an African American, which we know is modern day. We don't know how he became an African American, but in the school system, they teach that he's an African American who was a slave who got this, man, he got some really, like, we talk about some of the most expensive land in all the United States of America. Yeah, he got some prime real estate. And he got it on a land patent. That's royal decree. She said he came here in 1621. He got some of that land that Sir Walter Raleigh had. Sir Walter Raleigh got a royal land decree or a royal land grant, a royal land patent from King James the same King James who wrote the King James version of his Bible. And Anthony Johnson received some of this land. And so after he was no longer enslaved, or he was no longer a slave, he was able to work so hard that he actually got to live a great life. Most of us ain't got a parcel of land today. I don't know what type of slavery this was, but this was some good slavery. I mean, today, most of us would definitely participate in that type of slavery. Hands down. And your boy, Anthony Johnson, got 250 acres in Virginia. Then he left and went up to Maryland and got 300 acres in Maryland. Good land. And he was a slave. Make it make sense. And then he became a slave master himself. Yeah, when he got his land, he started enslaving himself. That's because most of the slave owners was us. Was us, look like us. Yeah. So this 1865 freedom of slaves, that really wasn't us, y'all. And Prophet Noble Ali never said it was us. He said the end of slavery was 1865. See, we gotta read within context. Because the last slave that was freed was was in New Jersey. Yeah, the last slave that was freed was in New Jersey. And that was after 1865. There was still slavery going on after the 13th Amendment, after the 14th Amendment, after the 15th Amendment. Even though the 14th and the 15th Amendment has never been ratified, there's many primary resources that shows and prove this. I know a lot of us like to live in La La fantasy land, but it just was never ratified. And the sooner that we come to a true understanding that certain things just did not happen, still to this day, then the better off we'll be. We can move on and you know, change some other things. Do some other things. Support some other things. But an argument in 2023 should not be the 14th and the 15th Amendment being ratified, because we all know that it has not been ratified. Period. That should no longer be an argument. It should no longer be an argument of us being descendants of slaves, or descendants of African slaves, or being descendants from Africa, if we are also saying that we are the first original in existence. We are autochthonous. We spring from the land of the Americas. We can't be from America and be from the continent of Africa at the same time. Just can't do it. It's impossible. These should no longer be issues or arguments. The 13th Amendment is not something that um, freed us. Not us. Not the original Aboriginal, autochthonous, indigenous peoples of America. No, the 13th Amendment didn't free us. As a matter of fact, if you look at 1866, there was many treaties that we made. If you look at much of who we were and who we are still to this day, when you go and you do your own family's genealogy, you'll see that a lot of your family members own slaves. And many of our slaves were your family members, because that's just how they were marked off. They were marked down as slaves. The father, the husband, will own the wife and the children. That's just the way it worked. Now they got it set up where it's the same thing, but today it's the state owning the children, and they consider us all children, which are wards of the state. The state is acting on the behalf of the father. It's the reason why they made it their priority to take the fathers out of the homes, for us to further integrate into their system. I showed last night where in the 1700s, 300, 16, 1613, there was 300,000 pale-skinned European Slavs or slaves who left from Africa. They left from Africa. No, they didn't leave from Europe. They left from Africa and came to America. The Slavs, the slaves. So then you begin to ask, well, who are the true Africans? They leaving from Africa and coming here. As a matter of fact, it said 1.25 million filled up the slave markets of Europe, Asia, and Africa. Talking about the Slavs. I'm not talking about Americans. I'm not talking about so-called Africans, because Africans don't call themselves Africans. I know. I'm talking about. I'm not talking about European. I'm talking about the Slavs. So it was so much of harsh conditions on them that they will only live for about 2 years. Matter of fact, let me show you. Let me show you one of the stories, because I didn't even show that yesterday. Yeah, I didn't even show that yesterday. me see if I can find it. Hmm. I'm gonna put the link in the chat if anybody want to come up. If anybody want to come up, let me see. Read the comments. Brother Sharif Bey said, "Where is America in ancient Morocco?" Yeah, yeah, brother. His Majesty the Magnificent L said, "My city, Richmond, Virginia, had 980 slaveholders in 1830 in the 1830s, and they were Asiatic slaveholders." Right. Sister Stargate Ill Islam says, "Change your screen, sister." Okay, I changed it. Brother Amen Ahava said, "The only real thing about Juneteenth is my birthday." Oh man, I didn't even get into Juneteenth. Yeah, we we ain't even get into Juneteenth yet. Um, let me get this. Let me get this link for y'all. You can come in. Hmm. All right, I put the link in the chat. Anybody got any questions? You can hit the link. You can come up. Um, Let me see if I can find this. The Forgotten White Slaves. Yeah, it was horrific. Yeah, like the stories and the depictions that they be showing us. Those were really, they always look like cartoons, or their sketches. Yeah, that's because it wasn't real. The real that slavery that went on was really the Slavs who were the real slaves, and a lot of that went on. A lot of that was changed during the Reconstruction period. Also, you had a time where the writers, the curators, the producers, um, the producers, the songwriters, and everything. They didn't have any work. No, they didn't have any work the um, during the Great Depression. Yeah, they didn't have any during the Great Depression. So what they did was they created this program called the Federal. What was it called? I believe it was called the Federal Writers Project, something like that. Yeah, I think it was called the Federal Writers Project, and They gave them work, and their work was to, help reconstruct this history. That's where you get the story about the Gratilda being the last slave ship by the sister Zora Neale Hurston. We know that was a lie, right? Shout out to Carter G. Woodson, who put her on blast about lying. And she was another one, just like your boy, who plagiarized Roots. She was another one. So here is the here's the link that I showed last night. Right, we're gonna go over some of the things. White slaves. White slaves. St. Patrick is a prominent slave who was kidnapped and forced to work in Ireland in the 5th century. The 9th century laws of King Alfred of Wessex contain details about the treatment of local slaves. England's Doomsday Book identified 10% of the population as slaves in 1086. In the 11th century, Bishop Wulstan fought against the enslavement of locals in Bristol. English debtors were sent to Ireland as slaves. The Mongols, led by Genghis Khan and his successors, captured sold thousands of Caucasian slaves. The powerful Muslim Ottoman Empire enslaved up to 6 million Europeans. These slaves were Ukrainians, Georgians, Circassians, Greeks, Armenians, Bulgarians, Romanians, and Slavs. All of these were Slavs. They're just giving them names now, but all these were Slavs. ETC. An example, Ottoman forces retreated from Vienna with 80,000 slaves in 1683. The Ottoman rulers prefer white female sex slaves for their harems in Constantinople, Istanbul, and elsewhere. And elsewhere. The pale-skinned European female was the slave that everybody wanted. Up to 100, 200, 250 million white slaves were captured by Muslim forces and enslaved by the North African Barbary states. 1,250,000, my bad. 1,250,000. The coastlines of southwest England and much of Europe were at the mercy of Muslim Barbary slave traders for at least 250 years. European empires emerged in part to control the seas because Muslim slave traders plundered Europeans from their home countries between 1530 and 1780. Britain's Lundy Island was a Muslim slave trade colony to capture English people for enslavement during the 1600s. This was not the only slave colony. What do you think the 13 colonies were? These were slave colonies. Who do you think were the Slavs, the slaves on these colonies? It definitely wasn't the Americans. No, it wasn't us. It definitely wasn't Africans. Because the Africans are slaving these. Come on, y'all, wake up. On 27 March 1794, the United States Navy was founded to stop the enslavement of white Americans in North Africa. Nazi Germany enslaved whew, 15 million people, mostly from Central and Eastern Europe. Mistreatment, severe malnutrition, exhaustion, and torture were the main causes of death. So we got 15 million, and it's the Germans that's enslaving. Then who is that person that they call that they showed us was Hitler? Because there's actual congressional records that says that Hitler was swarthy. Say he was swarthy. There's congressional record. Let me pull up that. Let me pull that up. See if I can find that congressional record for y'all. See if we can find it. Let's see. We can find. See what Hitler looked like. They called him the Al Capone. Yeah, they said he was like Al Capone. I'm gonna see if I can find it and I'm gonna put it up. To the brother Sharif Bey, where is America in ancient Morocco? Yep. Could you explain that question? Because I'm not quite sure about the question that you're asking, and I don't want to make an assumption. Where is America in ancient Morocco? Are you asking, like, was America here during like ancient times? If you have any questions, then just anyone got any questions? Anybody want to say anything? You want to comment? You got questions? Hit the link. Just hit the link. Come in the chat. But yeah, this I want to say shout out to the brother who actually made the comments on my Facebook post, because he, like many of us, believe that Prophet Noble Drew Ali received some title, this title, El Hajj Sharif Abdul Ali, from Egypt and from the African leaders, and was told to go back to the United States and free your people. That never happened, y'all. That's, well, at least we still have not found any proof of this. There is no, again, I am looking for two primary sources, and it has to have this date 1912, and it has to be from the leaders of Egypt and the holy city of Mecca. Because those other two references, you get three primary references or more, then we can conclude that that most likely is the truth. Primary references, because we got to cross reference each source. We can't take things for face value. But yeah, I'm about to get off of here. I gotta go to this celebration they have for the people in my community today. Um, but yeah, I'll be looking out for someone to provide that reference. This HR 0689 is not law, it's never been law. It has not become law. It is just been sendine for over 10 years now. It has not gone anywhere. No, it's not gone anywhere. And again, it's no diss to whoever the individuals were who came up with this, but there is a lot of misinformation in it. And it has thrown off, true Moorish American Muslims who actually love the Prophet, love the temple, love the principles of love, true peace, freedom, and justice, and is just working to be the betterment of themselves. And they have gotten, hold to this information and believe it to be fact and truth. And these are the things that we're really supposed to be utilizing social media for, to, help get out of that falsehood, right? Not to tear each other down, not to talk about who is the leader of this and who's the leader of that. Not to talk about if women should be able to wear fezzes in the temple. Not to talk about individuals, who's sleeping with who, and like that's not what we should be using our social media platforms for. We should be using them to truly uplift fallen humanity in the ways that we can. All right, so I'm gonna get off of here. No one came up. No one had any questions or comments. Until next time, if y'all like to support, the Cash App is at the bottom. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Peace.